Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here. We don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow. And sometimes that includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Remember to take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. For those who are not aware, I post weekly messages on really focusing on one topic that I break down into 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood and is essentially a deeper dive on part 1. And part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. And so if you are tuning in, this is part 3 of 3 for this week's message, and I am calling it the execution of choice, participation, or release. So what needs to be done? You are no longer in a phase of discovery. In part 1, we established you already see the pattern. In part 2, we confirmed you already understand how the pattern works. If for any reason you have not seen part 1 or part 2 and you're interested in learning more, there are links in the description box below. So because we've established you already see the pattern and you already understand how the pattern works, because of that, something has to fundamentally change. You cannot go back to not seeing it. Every time the cycle activates now, it will be visible. Not after the fact, but as it is happening. What you do in the moment the pattern activates determines whether it continues or ends. I'm here and repeat that. What you do in the moment, babies, the pattern activates, determines whether it continues or ends. Let's go ahead and break this down. This is the shift from unconscious pattern to conscious choice. What once felt automatic will now reveal itself in stages. A subtle shift in perspective or perception, a quick interpretation, a familiar emotional pull, a narrative beginning to form. Within that sequence, there is a moment. It's small, fast, and easy to miss. It's a point of internal permission. It's a moment where you lean into it, agree with it, and follow it. That moment is the true entry point into the cycle. The work. Interrupt the pattern before it becomes action. By the time you are reacting, you are already inside it. So the work is not to manage behavior. It's to interrupt the process earlier than that. All right. You want to aim at the level of interpretation, at the level of emotional pull, at the level of that initial yes. The work is to withdraw permission, not later, not once it escalates, immediately. I don't know who this is for, but I'm hearing clock that shit and back up. Even if you sense something is off, your guidance is to immediately step back. Because for some of you, we'll go into it in the next section. Actually, I'm not going to dive into that because we're going to talk about it right now. But here's why, even if something feels off, you want to step back, pull back, pause. So let's jump into the next section. You cannot think your way through this. Your first response, whether it's reactive or conscious, your first response is conditioned. It's that knee-jerk reaction. Even the part of you that tries to stay calm, respond correctly, be aware, or do it right can still be participating in the pattern through control. There are not two selves. That's conscious versus unconscious versus conscious. There are two strategies of the same system. The shift is deeper than response. It is not about choosing a better reaction. It's about no longer needing to respond from identity at all. No performance, no management, no correction, just non-participation. All right, why this is difficult? Because the pattern does not feel false. It feels true, justified, and necessary. And when you interrupt it, something else emerges. It's the urge to resolve what you're feeling. All right, that is the urge to explain, to fix, to clarify, to complete the loop. This urge is not separate from the pattern. It is the pattern. The full cycle you are breaking. The pattern is not just reaction, it's a loop. The loop is trigger to interpretation, to reaction, to drain, to withdrawal, to reset, to re-entry. That's the loop. When you stop reacting externally, the pattern adapts. It moves into rumination, silent judgment, internal replay, and emotional shutdown. It will also try to recreate closure mentally. This looks like imagined conversations, internal justifications, and reprocessing the moment. And I'm not sure why I'm feeling called to add this, but I want to let you know this is not to blame or shame you. This is part of the process, and I have also personally been in this stage before. I know what this feels like, and I know what it's like to recognize that you are doing this and having a really hard time seeing how you are going to stop doing that. And if that ask feels very daunting to you, my advice is try to start interrupting that once. Because once you can recognize that you're doing it and you break that, it just sets you up to be able to do it again. In my experience, if you can manage to do it once, the repetition will come, but it does take practice and it does take some diligence. But I understand that your mind can really run rampant with some of this stuff. So if that feels daunting, just know you can get better with time. You absolutely can. All right. This is where most people fail. And just because you fail the first time doesn't mean you don't get a second chance and you can't improve, all right? So this is not an invitation to beat yourself up. This is to raise awareness so that you can become conscious of things that you may be doing that you weren't consciously aware of before. Once you understand what it is and you can recognize it and you can name it, in my experience, it makes it a lot easier to interrupt it. All right, so think of this as a pathway toward really improving. That's really what we're doing. We're trying to do better and be better. All right, so where most people fail, they stop the reaction but complete the cycle internally, which means the pattern continues. All right, you ruminate on that, you imagine how that would have worked out, all that stuff. You are continuing that cycle. All right, so what's the actual requirement? To break the cycle, you must interrupt all forms of continuation. No reaction, no rumination, no withdrawal, no mental closure. And remain present through what follows. I'm hearing you can do this. What follows is the real test. And I don't love the word test, but I genuinely can't think of anything better. So we're going to roll with it. It's not the trigger. It's really the aftermath. That's the real test. After you interrupt the pattern, you will feel discomfort, uncertainty, incompleteness, exposure, and a strong pull to go back and fix it. This is the peak. This is where the cycle usually restarts, not through reaction, but through relief seeking. You must allow the moment to remain unsolved. Do not go back. Do not clarify. Don't mentally complete it. And do not create closure. Let it remain open, unfinished, and uncertain. What will try to pull you back? I touched upon this a little bit, very briefly actually, in part 2, but I'm going to bring it back up. The pattern will escalate before it breaks. This can look like stronger emotional intensity, more convincing thoughts, and greater urgency to act. It will also disguise itself as progress. This can look like I stayed calm while internally looping. I handled that well while suppressing. I've already learned this. The new metric, it's not how you feel, it's not how it looks, and it's not whether it worked. The new metric is only this. Did I re-enter the pattern? And they want me to be clear, the pattern includes that internal looping. So you can't just say someone tried to bait me, someone tried to trigger me, and I didn't react. Did you actually internally loop? Did you think about it later? Did you imagine conversations? All that kind of stuff. I'm hearing stay focused on the full loop. If the answer is no, you are doing the work. Why this can feel like it's not working. It's really because there is a delay. And I can personally attest to this, and I'm not going to lie, when I was going through this, I thought this was complete bullshit. But there's one thing to remember with transformation. Things don't necessarily move and shift on your timeline. It doesn't care about what your ego wants. But yes, there is a delay. You may see no external change. You may get no validation and feel no improvement. That is part of that discomfort that can very easily feed back into wanting to actually go back and fix things because nothing changes in your external. You don't feel any different. Nobody acts different. And it's a bit of a mind trick. Again, you are more than capable of doing this, but they want me to call that out specifically. All right? Relationships may not shift immediately, and situations may look the same. You may actually think, I'm doing all this work and nothing's fucking happening, and this is stupid. It's just like, you're just like, I'm uncomfortable 90% of the time, and like nothing's changing. And if you feel like it is bullshit, I mean, honor how you feel. I certainly did. This is where they want me to be very clear. But something else is changing just because you don't see it. All right? Internally, repetition is occurring. All right? If you are doing this work, the loop is not completing. The reinforcement is weakening, and the pattern is losing stability until eventually there is a threshold. I'm hearing hold the line. If you are doing that work, hold the line. It eventually has to cross that threshold. All right. And then without announcement, it breaks. It's not dramatically. And again, I can attest to this. It's not dramatically. It's subtly. All right. How do you know? The trigger appears and does not take hold. There's no urgency, no compulsion, no pull. It's just space. You see it and nothing. You have no reaction. Your mind doesn't do anything with it. It's almost like that shit just bounces right back off you and nothing. Just gets no entry. But before that, there is loss. And this is important to acknowledge. Because the pattern provided familiarity, identity, and emotional structure, letting go can feel like emptiness, boredom, disorientation, and grief. You may question who you are without it and whether something is missing. To be very clear, nothing is missing. What's gone is the cycle that kept repeating itself. The new state is quieter. It's less reactive, it's less intense, and at first, it may feel like less. It isn't. What becomes available? Not immediately, but inevitably, hold the line. You get stability without control, connection without strategy, and presence without fear. This is not given in advance. You must cross that threshold to receive it. It is accessed after the pattern is no longer running. Thank you. Okay. I actually just broke a pattern yesterday, and overnight last night I actually did break down the pattern. That cycle's no longer running. The one that I was working through, which I've had in place for most of my life. So if I get anything more about, the stability without control, the connection without strategy, and the presence without fear, I'll let you know. But to be honest, I can energetically feel the difference. So it hasn't been in place for very long, but I don't know. They told me I had to that I had to share that with you. So I don't know if someone feels like they don't think this can actually be done. I'm telling you, I did it. So I'm really delivering this message with my whole heart and my whole chest because been here, done it, and to a certain extent with other things, still doing it, but I have broken a cycle. I have a pattern that is no longer running in my life, and I'm actually energetically reorganizing as a result of that. So if I can manage to do it, and frankly, I didn't have these notes doing it. I actually went through this experience. These notes would have helped me so flipping much during that, but I just didn't have that at the time. And that is part of what motivates me to share this with you is I've learned this, I've lived this, and it can be done if you are willing to apply it consistently. So, what this requires: consistency, not perfection. All right? This is not intensity. It is repetition. When you are doing this, it is so important to be your best friend. All right? Do the best you can in the moment. All right? If you miss it on one time, you will have another opportunity to recognize it and interrupt the pattern. Like I said, once you do it once, it just opens the door for that consistency. Get that first win, and the others become easier. You just need more practice. Again, you are trying to break something that is conditioned in you. Rome wasn't built in a day. Cycles don't get broken in a day. They get broken over time and through repetition. All right? You need to catch the moment. Catch it, clock it, however you want to phrase that. Interrupt it. Allow the discomfort. And it sucks, but allow it anyway. And don't complete the loop. Just don't complete the loop. Once you start interrupting them, that shit just weakens more and more with each repetition, and eventually the loop has to break. You have to do this again and again without needing proof. I'm telling you, shit did not change while I was consistently breaking this loop. And I'll be honest, even though I know I broke it overnight, nothing has actually changed in my experience yet. The only thing I got from my team was a "we're proud of you." That's the only thing. That's the only validation I got. Nothing's actually changed other than that. All right, so you got to really self-motivate to a certain extent. You got to ask, how bad do you want out of this? And that's got to be what keeps you going. And I'm hearing some of you are not going to like to hear this, but I'm here to be the messenger, babies. And so I'm going to deliver it. But there is no partial version of this. I am hearing there is no half-assing this. You cannot half break the pattern. Partial interruption is reinforcement. Occasional change is continuation. Internal completion of the loop is reset. And I'm hearing that is automatic. The shift happens through clean breaks repeatedly. What freedom actually is. It is not certainty. It is not control. It is not constant peace. Freedom is the absence of compulsion. The trigger exists, but you're not pulled in by it. There's just space. All right, so let's wrap this up. Here is the final truth of this message. You are no longer at the stage where this is happening to you. You're at the stage where this is happening through you and can stop happening through you. Every activation is now a choice. Continue it and receive temporary relief while reinforcing the cycle. Or interrupt it and experience discomfort while ending it. There is no third option. I'm hearing all or nothing. The moment you stop completing the cycle, even when it feels wrong, empty, or unresolved, is the moment the cycle begins to lose its hold. Continue without proof, without reassurance, without needing it to feel right. And eventually, the pattern will reach for you, and there will be nothing in you that reaches back. All right, that's all I'm getting for this message. I'm going to leave it there. So again, this is part 3 of 3. So I will be bringing this topic to a close for this week. And I will be opening up a new topic for us to be exploring for next week when I post on Sunday. The links to the completed series is all available below in the description box in case you want to check out the other parts if you haven't seen them already, or you want to revisit some of the content from the previous videos. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by, and take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.